All right, let's dive into something called object relations theory. I know it sounds a bit academic, right? But trust me, it's this fascinating idea about a kind of hidden blueprint that shapes, well, all of our relationships, often in ways we don't even see coming.
So, let me ask you this. Ever feel like you're stuck on a loop in your relationships? Maybe you always end up being the fixer, where you find yourself drawn to the exact same kind of partner over and over again. It can feel like you're playing out this script you never even auditioned for.
Well, what if I told you that script was actually written way, way back, like when you were an infant? That's the core idea of object relations theory. And to really get it, we've got to start with the absolute basics, and that's this concept of an object.
Okay, so when we say object here, let's be clear. We're not talking about your coffee mug or your phone. In this world, an object is the mental and emotional picture we have of a super important person from our childhood. Think mom, dad, or whoever took care of you. It's not the actual person, but the version of them we've stored inside our minds.
Think of it this way. There's the external object. That's the real person, out there in the world with all their quirks, good days and bad days. But what this theory is really interested in is the internal object. That's our mental copy, our simplified blueprint. And here's the kicker. We spend our lives interacting not just with people, but with these internal blueprints we've created.
And when this whole process goes well, we develop something called object constancy. It's basically that deep, secure feeling that a relationship is solid. Even when the person isn't right in front of you, you know they still exist and care about you. If we don't nail this down as kids, it can plant the seeds for some serious fear of abandonment down the road.
Okay, so we've got this idea of a blueprint, but how is it even built? Where do these internal objects come from? Well, the construction starts literally from day one, in what is, for a tiny baby, a completely overwhelming and chaotic world. To cope with all that chaos, a baby's brain uses this really clever, if a bit primitive, defense tool called splitting. It's just a way to make sense of everything by sorting experiences into two very simple boxes, all good or all bad. There is absolutely no in-between, no shades of gray.
The psychoanalyst Melanie Klein came up with the perfect example for this. Picture a hungry baby. When mom feeds them, they experience the good breast. It's warmth, comfort, everything wonderful. But when that baby's hungry and crying and mom isn't there, they experience the bad breast. Frustration, emptiness, everything awful. And the really wild part? To the baby, these aren't two aspects of the same person. They are two totally separate things.
So this black and white world of splitting, Klein called it the paranoid schizoid position. It's all about fearing the bad and loving the good. But as we grow, we're supposed to hit this major milestone. We move into what she called the depressive position. And this is a huge deal. It's that aha moment when we realize the good mom and the bad mom are the same mom. And that realization brings up all these new complicated feelings, like guilt and wanting to make things right.
Now, this whole framework wasn't the work of just one genius. It was a team effort, really. A group of incredible thinkers, mostly in Britain, who were like the very first explorers mapping out this amazing, uncharted territory of our inner worlds.
So the big ideas really started coming together in the middle of the 20th century. We've got Melanie Klein, who we just talked about, but there were also two other absolute giants in the field, W.R.D. Fairbairn and D.W. Winnicott. They were all working around the same time, bouncing ideas around and building on each other's work. And this whole movement became known as the British School of Psychoanalysis. And each of them brought something really crucial to the table. Klein, she laid the groundwork with the whole inner world concept. Fairbairn came along and said, hey, maybe we're not just driven by pleasure. Maybe what we really crave from the moment we're born is connection. He called us object seeking. Then you have Winnicott, who gave us this wonderful idea of the good enough parent, shifting the focus to how important our early environment really is. Winnicott's idea of the true self versus the false self, man, this one is a game changer. Here's the deal. If a baby's needs are mostly met, if the parent is good enough, then their real, authentic, spontaneous, true self gets to come out and play. But if the care isn't there, the baby learns to hide its real needs and put on a false self. It's like a mask of compliance, designed to get the parent's approval just to get by. And you can imagine that has huge ripple effects for the rest of your life.
Okay, that's a lot of psychoanalytic history, I know. But what does any of this have to do with you right now in the 21st century? Well, everything. Because understanding this old blueprint is the key to decoding your relationships today.
For starters, this theory is huge in modern therapy. Therapists use these ideas all the time to help people connect the dots, to see how those really early childhood patterns are showing up in their jobs, their friendships, their love lives. It's also a massive help in understanding really challenging conditions like borderline personality disorder, where that splitting we talked about, that all good or all bad thinking, can get stuck on repeat. But honestly, you don't need a diagnosis for this to be useful. It's an incredible tool for just understanding yourself.
So what's the point of all this work? What's the goal? A lot of the time in therapy, it's about finishing that developmental job that might have gotten stalled in childhood. It's about learning to move past that black and white thinking and finally merge the good and bad objects, to see that people, including yourself, aren't angels or monsters. They're just whole, complicated, messy, real human beings.
And when you boil it all down, it really comes back to one powerful thing.
The power of that single, foundational blueprint. A map drawn up inside you before you could even talk. A map that might be unconsciously steering almost every relationship you have today. So the question I want to leave you with isn't about blaming anyone, it's about curiosity. It's about understanding. The question is, what does the blueprint of your inner world look like?